What impact does the focus on standardized testing have on students, and what policies and practice would you support to ensure there's meaningful learning opportunities for students and experiences for all students outside the parameters of testing? And Nolita, let's start with you with that question.
Sure thing. Thank you, Roxanne, for that question. Absolutely. So this is another topic where I could talk all day about it. I believe that rather than having the pressure continue to be on the shoulders of campus leaders, teachers, and students and families, where there's a lot of kind of pressure, but then also the accompanied shame of like having this test score almost define one's worth. I want us to get away from that and really look at what are some other ways student progress. There's, informal observation, using self-assessments, also looking at multiple test formats, and really making sure that we're not just using one, like I said, high stakes standardized test to define what we as a district or even students and teachers are accomplishing. And I think part of that requires our school district to stand up to TEA and stand up to and say, we are going to reclaim our local control, and we will not bend to the will of these high stakes standardized tests. And other school districts have done that. I want us to be that brave and that courageous to go forward with that.
Thank you. Jared?
You know what? Nolita stole it right out of my mouth. So basically, yes. I mean, we know that COVID-19, I'm going to go with what we're dealing with right now, which is COVID-19 and virtual learning and all of that. We cannot expect our students to be under the pressure, or even our staff members to be put on the pressure to make sure that our students perform high on these high stakes tests. I think we're at that point right now where we should be working, collaborating with other parents and advocates and things like that, so that we can tell TEA that we're done with this. Our students are so much more than test scores. Our students deserve to have their entire school year used to assess how they have learned, right? Not just one single day. And so we all know that these tests are systemically, set up against most of our most vulnerable student populations, our SPED, our African-American, our Hispanics, our, just so many, groups of students that are being targeted by these tests. And so I feel like we should have like more of a portfolio type of thing where our students demonstrate what they have learned the entire year. And so that's what we should be pressing for with our community towards TEA and, education department and things like that. That's what I fully believe. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we'd like to hear from Leticia.
Thank you, Roxanne. Standardized testing puts a lot of pressure on administrators, teachers, parents, and students. They're stress-filled, and they only measure, that's one data point, snapshot of one day. It does not take into account the whole child, where we focus on the whole child with our academic learning, our SEL. That is, it's not just a data point. And so if we can move away from that thinking, that will serve the district well, that will serve all students well, and teachers. I fully support ensuring any additional learning opportunities so that we can move away from that type of rigid testing process into something else that measures the whole child in an equitable way. So, it's sorting through how do we do that and how do we make that happen for our school district. And if other districts are successful in pushing back on TEA, well, let's learn from them on how they did that and start to figure out the best step forward for AISD.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mike?
Yes, thanks, Roxanne. I think it's definitely clear that standardized testing is stressful on students, it's stressful on the system itself, and it's insanely costly. And so, but on the other side, and standardized tests also, we've seen, and I think Jared alluded to this a little bit, in that standardized tests have shown to assess socioeconomic status better than anything else. And we don't need a test to assess for socioeconomic status. We need to actually make sure that our students are being supported in a way that when they leave school, they can actually have self-determination towards their own happiness. And that's not necessarily going to four-year college. It could be any number of options. And so what we have to do as a district is we need to redesign for ourselves what it means to hold ourselves accountable. We have to design a local accountability system. And yes, we can push back on TEA, absolutely. But what we have to do more so is create a system that doesn't even give TEA the opportunity to come into Austin in the first place. So, you know, there are state laws about if you have a campus that is an F for 4 or 5 years, the state mandates having to come in and do something. We should never let anything get to that point. We don't want TEA to come in. We need to give them no opportunity to do that in the first place. And so we have to design these systems locally that go way beyond the tests. And we can look longitudinally. Again, we have technology. We should be able to see how students are doing when they leave us as well.